The best way to describe this upcoming second iteration of the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series is this: the massive tidal wave known as the rowdiest silly season since 2008 has put many drivers, teams, and manufacturers back at ground level. 2023 is the year for these empires to reform their sandcastles to, hopefully, tower over the Truck Series Bay. NRF Productions proudly presents the Spotter's Guide predicting the 2023 NASCAR Truck Series regular season. So the divorce of Kyle Busch and Toyota trickles down into the Truck Series, and as they say, divorce leads the children down to some dark, dark places. David Gilliland Racing goes to the dark side in Toyota and will be rebranded to the Tricon Garage. An organization as cool as it sounds becomes Toyota's new pipeline for development drivers with 5 entries for this season. Many will debate that that's more that they can chew, but they do have a lot of sponsors like JBL, Mobile One, and Safelite leaving Kyle Busch Motorsports to become the team's primary sponsors. The number 1 truck will be their all-star entry and will fill out its purpose in developing younger drivers, namely the new Cars Tour standout that Joe Gibbs Racing signed in the offseason, a guy that will make us all feel like boomers, William Sawalich. Meanwhile, they've also got veterans. They've got a blast from the past, a blast from the old NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series, and Jason White. This number 1 entry is a mix of young and old, so we're really going to see a lot of interesting names in this truck. That rowdy silly season sees the Rev Racing Development Program make its biggest stride yet. Historically, this team has been the pipeline for minority drivers like Kyle Larson, Daniel Suarez, and Bubba Wallace to climb the ranks. In 2023, they will not only jump up to the Truck Series full-time the entire season paid in full by Gainbridge, racing with a young prospect in Nick Sanchez, and through a technical alliance with KBM, Sanchez and Rev get the old 18 team with War Wagon veteran Danny Stockman to lead the number 2 truck. Nick Sanchez in the season, he has an established structure that is going to help him mitigate the rookie mistakes, and that is something that sets himself apart from some of the other drivers in this 2023 rookie class. An economy in the pits of despair means Chase Purdy, a driver that is currently defined by underperforming at GMS, and Hattori gets to race in the revamped Kyle Busch Motorsports, now with the golden bow tie in Chevrolet, succeeding the 6-time KBM winner John Hunter Nemechek in the iconic championship-winning KBM number 4 truck. Of course, like we already mentioned, Tricon stole all their sponsors, all that money, and KBM is essentially right now in survival mode. So for the driver, nicknamed Rowdy, he really couldn't be aggressive and rowdy in this debut 2023 season with Chevrolet, leaving him with no choice but to take the Bama Buggies money and give Chase Purdy his shot in top-tier equipment once again. Dean Thompson is one of the 4 full-timers for the Tricon Garage. Last year, he was teammates with Carson Hocevar at Nice and didn't do well because of a variety of mechanical issues. Then again, I just cannot understand the Dean Thompson hype train like I saw on Reddit, because the only thing flowing in his career is the family pipeline company keeping him on the racetrack itself. The Tricon Garage, assuming that they are going to be more balanced competitively than Nice Motorsports, is going to say a lot about Dean Thompson as a racer, good, bad, or even ugly. When you look at all the momentum CR7 Motorsports had with Grant Enfinger driving some of their races in 2021, last season for CR7 Motorsports was a bit of a disappointment, especially with Blaine Perkins just not really elevating the team to the next level. This season, Cody Robaugh is going a different direction, choosing Colby Howard. If you remember, he was with McNally Hilgeman Racing last season, and he didn't exactly do the greatest, not the worst, but also not the best considering what Derek Kraus was able to do, even though he came up short yet again. But still, what you got to keep in mind, the team was going through growing pains expanding to a second truck. I think he got the short end of the stick. We're going to have to see what he does at CR7. They have the potential to be good, but at the same time, I think they're a bit down the peg in Chevrolet. It'll be interesting to see how this driver-team combination plays out in the long run. Tricon's most hyped up prospect is easily Marietta, Georgia's Corey Heim, whether it was his 6th-win season in ARCA in 2021 or last year in the KBM 51 where he stole victories at Atlanta and Gateway. Corey Heim last season proved he could win in the best equipment in the garage, according to Kyle Busch, and perhaps the wins are second to his maturity throughout the year. Corey Heim ended the year with 7 top 10s in his last 8 races. The 2022 Rookie of the Year now has his big break, and expect him to light the world on fire, maybe not immediately, but eventually, to put him on the radar as a future 2311 Cup driver. Young's Motorsports returns for its 12th season with former Hendrick Automotive Group salesman and longest tenure driver in team history, Spencer Boyd, as the full-time driver. It's been a bit of a rough road for Boyd the past few seasons, even failing to qualify last year for the same Talladega race he won in 2019. Spencer Boyd and his team have acknowledged that they didn't end the season strong last year, and they have had discussions in this offseason about how to better their performance. The Creve Coeur, Missouri native once again hopes to be a strong representative for the St. Louis area in this season. Driver Hailie Deegan had a huge announcement this offseason.
This has been official. Hailie Deegan has finally found his new ride for the 2023 season.
Hailie Deegan has finally found his new ride for the 2023 season. His new ride.
I'm a dick. He's a dick. She's a dick. 'Cause we're all dicks.
Second, of course, to ThorSport Racing announcing a wholesale manufacturer change back to Ford, a splitting up of a championship crew chief combination, and various other changes just to get Hailie Deegan, a sub-20th place truck driver last year, into competitive Truck Series equipment. And I believe, going off of internet definitions, this would be defined as a simp move. There are no more excuses for Miss Deegan, no more crying in the trailer about how she gets raced hard, especially since she has Rich Lucius, a Truck Series champion, as her crew chief. Hailie Deegan needs to win a race and make the playoffs at minimum. At maximum, I'd argue that she needs to make it to the championship 4 based on what ThorSport has done this season to help Hailie Deegan. If not, I wonder how much of Hailie Deegan's pride would be hurt if one of the Tricon guys, driving a less nicer truck than her, slows up to pull alongside her after the race and says, "Sup, girl?" Tanner Gray is the Eric Almirola of the Truck Series. Every single year, he is expected to take the leap forward. Last year, he had veteran Jerry Baxter as crew chief, began the season with 3 top 10 finishes, only to crumble and finish 14th in points. Look, Gray is an admirable driver. He did not come up through the stock car ranks, but rather drag racing, a completely different motorsport. This transition is not easy at all, but now he has the resources to win with TRD, and I'd say the pressure is on. Tanner Gray is the most experienced Truck Series-wise of the Tricon garage. In 2023, it is time to go fast like he did with the Pro Stocks in 2018 and finally win a race. So the curious case of Tyler Ankrum continues. The San Bernardino, California native went from a rookie sensation in 2019 to a 2020 where he was the black sheep at GMS, to an even worse 2 years with GMS and Ettore, missing the playoffs in 2021 and 2022. Less is more is going to be the motto of Ettore in 2023. Doug Randolph returns to the Truck Series to crew chief, which is an interesting hire for someone that has been a detrimental part to the development of Ryan Blaney, Tyler Reddick, and Austin Cindric when they were racing at Brad Keselowski Racing. Ettore certainly hopes that this is the combination that can get the maximum amount of performance out of a still young Tyler Ankrum. The final masked racer of the Tricon garage is a new face with a familiar name, Taylor Gray. Tanner Gray's brother is a bit different, as he has been in the stock car pipeline. That has been his trajectory. and unfortunately he won't be able to race in the bigger races, at least in the beginning part of the season, until he turns 18. But honestly, I'm gonna ask this: does it really matter? Taylor Gray has the potential to break out in this season, to be a superstar with what he's shown in ARCA and his select truck starts. This is a steal for Toyota Racing Development, and eventually he will show he's a superstar, just as long as he doesn't Snapchat while driving. Let's leave that in 2021. McNally Hillsman Racing gets a complete overhaul with a name that's hard to comprehend.
You don't know my name?
No, I know your name.
Christian X.
What?
Christian Eckes leaves the ThorSport 98 to come join the McNally 19. With Derek Kraus, this truck was basically the Truck Series equivalent of the Ganassi 42 in the mid-2000s, always coming up short, close, but never close enough. And the question I'd like you guys to answer in the comments section is, can Christian Eckes break the trend? At least in my opinion, I think it's certainly plausible, because he's driven for Kyle Busch Motorsports, he's driven for ThorSport, so he has a background of what is a necessity to compete on their level and compete at an elite level in the Truck Series, and that alone could be the thing that this McNally team certainly needs to get past the hump and finally, and I mean finally, make the playoffs. Grant Enfinger was a little bit rusty in his full-time return to the Truck Series last season. Charles Danique, hope I said that right, kept him around the playoff cut line before GMS went and got Jeff Hensley. His presence stabilized the 23, even helped Enfinger win a race at IRP, but champion, as it reads on the hood of his Silverado, that was only done in the NASCAR Heat Games. Now, the Enfinger-Hensley combo will be focused on a full season full of wins and championships for the first time since 2020. That is a major win for the Truck Series and NASCAR fans across the land, unless you are not fond of Grant Enfinger. And if there is one more important piece of information to remember throughout this season, Grant Enfinger just turned 38. His new co-owner has quite a bit of knowledge about winning championships at that same age. The driver that Steve Phelps has hyped up as the next superstar gets to drive one of NASCAR's most storied numbers. I'm interested to hear what you guys think about this in the comments. Is the hype for Rajah Caruth at a ridiculous standard? Because I feel like yes, and I think that I'm not the only person that thinks this, because Caruth, let's be honest, he hasn't done the greatest in his 11 truck and Xfinity starts, though I'm gonna praise him. He did have two noteworthy races. The first one was Gateway, his first Truck Series start, which I attended, where he finished 11th. Then Martinsville for Alpha Prime, where he finished 12th. Besides Hailie Deegan, this is a driver right here that NASCAR is openly rooting for to succeed. Rajah Caruth needs to perform, especially now that he has equipment people in his hometown of DC can only dream of driving. NASCAR Twitter was in the twilight zone, like Alex Jones was talking to Ye, when Matt DiBenedetto finally won himself a race at Talladega, meaning that he can now identify as a NASCAR winner. Imagine honestly where the Wood brothers would be today if they gave him at least one season with the next generation car. Outside of maybe taking over the 41, the best thing for Benny Benedetto to do in this offseason was to return to the 25 truck for Rackley War. I mean, you just look at the landscape of the Truck Series. Look at it.
Look at it! Look at it! Look at it! I want all of you to look at it!
While the fabrics of various organizations have been torn, tugged, or completely pulled apart, this group is stitched together tightly. Matt DiBenedetto didn't have to worry about the uncertainties of his future. He had it all sorted out in July, which should make him a danger to the competition. Brett Holmes being the next driver on this list is beautifully, beautifully poetic, as he was, in the words of Danica Patrick,
so close
to his first win at his hometown of Munford, Alabama, just minutes away from the Talladega Superspeedway. I'm going to say it right here. Brett Holmes, with his family race team, is destined for great things. Maybe not right away, but statistically, he impressed in his 8 starts last year. And for 2023, Jerry Baxter, yes, that Jerry Baxter is his full-time crew chief. Brett Holmes is the driver that nobody knows about, but give it a few months, guys. Be patient, and after a while, you will know him well, trust me. Mason Massey reunites with Josh Riam, the guy that gave him his first opportunity in NASCAR racing. Choosing a full-time driver like Mason shows how committed Riam Brothers is to the Truck Series this season. Plus, they will switch over to Ford Performance. The Blue Oval, as we'll see, has a much greater strength in numbers, and I think that is going to help the Riam trucks, especially at the super speedways. McNally Hillsman Racing takes the keys of its second truck away from Colby Howard and hands them off to a 17-year-old Jake Garcia. Now, an interesting note, he is going to miss the Daytona race, and believe it or not, Chase Elliott, yes, the 2020 NASCAR Cup Series champion, is going to be in this truck for the opening race in Daytona. But if I'm honest, I wouldn't be surprised if Jake Garcia gets released mid-season. I mean, you just look at his career starts, 1 ARCA West start and 5 races with the same team last year. All signs point to him having some growing pains in this upcoming season, and the only explanation for this move, honestly, is that Quanta Services, they must have paid a pretty big check to get him full-time, because with so little experience, hopefully the Fab Shop employees get a massive raise this season. Zane Smith is a driver who is willing to do anything to make it in NASCAR, and the third time was the charm in his pursuit of the Truck Series championship. He did it for himself, he did it for Front Row Motorsports, and most importantly, he did it for Dale. For those of you that don't know, Dale Earnhardt was pictured on Zane Smith's truck in the championship race. And even with how much Zane Smith and Chris Lawson, they intimidated their competition last year, 2023 might be even more intimidating. With all the changes, reshuffling of empires, it should be scary that the defending champion is one of about 3 teams that didn't make any changes before Daytona. That alone makes Zane Smith and Front Row Motorsports the odds-on favorites to go back-to-back and show they have a stranglehold on the new Truck Series. Carson Hocevar's 2022 season can be summed up perfectly through a sad music montage. Certainly the objective for Carson Hocevar is to have less of those moments this season and to finally score that first career win. It's safe to say Carson Hocevar is built different. This is a driver that qualified on the pole just a week after breaking his tibia. Still, that Truck Series win is missing, and the thing that separates himself from the dreaded P word in NASCAR, potential. Hold your balls here, guys, because the Petty 43 is back full-time in the NASCAR Truck Series. You probably know the name Daniel Dye, mainly for things off the track, but what about on it? Especially if you're a competitor this season. Last year, the 18-year-old, he was a main player for the ARCA Championship with GMS Racing, and now he is going to be racing in a third GMS entry in trucks. And my advice for competitors, regardless of your age or status, stay away from conflict. If not, you can buy a good pair of compression shorts off of Amazon for only $35. The driver that has no boundaries, no limits, well, besides Nice Motorsports, Lawless Allen is back in the 45 for a second full-time season, and again, I'll say it, the sky is the limit, except of course for Carson Hocevar on the 42 team. It seems like Al Nice's trucks, they either run really well if you're a guy like Carson Hocevar or Ross Chastain, or if you're a guy like Chris Wright, Dean Thompson, or Lawless Allen. It seems like on most weekends you're making up the back end of the top 25. In fact, you're getting lapped by Ross Chastain and Carson Hocevar. I think consistency for Nice Motorsports would be deeply, deeply appreciated, especially for Lawless Allen. The Kyle Busch Motorsports 51 returns, which will be driven by the boss himself in 5 races, which were just confirmed And after looking at the races, I'm honestly surprised that North Wilkesboro didn't make the cut, as Zara's Transportation will be the sponsor for all these races. Maybe that's why he isn't going to North Wilkesboro in favor of big markets like Kansas, Coda, and of course Las Vegas. As a survival mechanism, Chevrolet prospect Jack Wood gets the wheel for 10 races. Kyle Busch, I think he is going to be a great influence that Jack Wood desperately needs. Other than that, this right here will be a challenging year for Kyle Busch Motorsports. Maybe Kyle Busch debates shutting it down, especially considering that they were at the highest of highs, and in this upcoming season, I expect Kyle Busch Motorsports to hit the lowest of lows. Stuart Friesen and John Leonard, they have come a long way from the 2020 rebuilding year to make Halmar Racing competitive once again and independent. 2023's notable change is, for once, some outside sponsorship. AIM Autism will sponsor Stuart Friesen at Daytona. Ferris Motors, Ty Dillon's Cup sponsor, will be on the truck for 6 races. And I'm not gonna lie here, guys, part of me died inside when it was announced that one of their sponsored races will be Gateway, because let's be honest, that regular bright blue Halmar truck is a part of Stuart Friesen's driver identity, something that is lacking in current NASCAR. But of course, big picture, Halmar Racing, they are finally getting the deserved backing from corporate America, which any money is good money when you're trying to compete at the most competitive level possible. Ty Majeski and Joe Shear Jr. eat, sleep, and breathe racing. Whether it's working on their trucks and Midwest late models, or by spending hours upon hours upon hours in the simulator, for Ty Majeski in particular, the years of sacrifice, scrapping deals together, and completing an engineering degree to fall back on if the racing thing didn't work out was finally rewarded with a breakout 2022 campaign with ThorSport. This strong core of Midwest late model racers, they shouldn't have many challenges adapting to Ford, as that is what racing is at its core, because the best teams, the best lap times, it is a target that is constantly moving. One week, you're going to run a 29, the next week you might be in the 28s. For Ty Majeski, the only thing he needs to work on is reducing some of those Ty Majeski moments, and if he does that, 2023 will see the protege of Toby Nutterman absolutely take off like a rocket. To too long didn't read the 2022 season of Matt Crafton for you guys. Jeff Hensley, Bud Hafel, and Shane Wilson, successful crew chiefs on their own merit, have one flaw. They're not Junior Joyner. It is hard to compete with the 38, 18, and even within ThorSport when you don't have a path mapped out to achieve success. And as of now, that plan is to retain Shane Wilson and have him lead Matt Crafton's bid, his 20th season with Menards, lead his bid for a record-tying 4th Truck Series championship, and maybe with more time he can teach this old dog some new tricks, namely leading laps. Yes, Matt Crafton isn't historically a laps leader, but the past 2 seasons he's led just 26 laps total. Johnny Sauter, for how much he declined in his final years, led 36 in his farewell full-time season. Man, sometimes, guys, things in NASCAR just do not make any logical sense. Like what ThorSport Racing is doing with Ben Rhodes. 2022 wasn't as consistent of a season for Ben Rhodes, but he did lead a career-high 271 laps and was one corner away, one bumping of Zane Smith out of the groove from going back-to-back. Guys, I just cannot, under any circumstance, comprehend why on earth you would split up Ben Rhodes and Rich Lucius for Hailie Deegan of all drivers. Besides the plausible thing of Ford demanding and putting ThorSport at gunpoint to put Hailie Deegan on her precious pedestal. Jerry Yard Prince, yes, he is decent enough to keep Ben Rhodes in the playoffs, but other than that, this is like if ThorSport split up Matt Crafton and Junior Joyner in 2017 to help Cody Coughlin of all drivers. 2023's regular season schedule consists of a few tweaks, like Texas Motor Speedway moving to April and Richmond Raceway becoming the cutoff race like it was in 2020, highlighted by the return of a venue that was part of the inaugural Truck Series season, which is the North Wilkesboro Speedway, May 20th on Big Network Fox. Speaking of Fox, Vince Welch is gone as the television voice of the Truck Series. In its place is a booth carousel because Fox, we know they love to rotate their booths so many times like a merry-go-round, and this one will consist of Xfinity play-by-play guy Adam Alexander and ARCA's Jamie Little. It's only fitting that I meet the rowdiest Truck Series season with some of the rowdiest predictions I've ever done. First, for the obvious, Zane Smith will dominate the first half of the season. The 38 team, they are going to have a massive leg up as the defending champions. Ty Majeski, Grant Enfinger, Ben Rhodes, Stuart Friesen, Carson Hocevar, and Corey Hine, they all win their way into NASCAR's postseason. And as for the drivers on points, you never bet against Matt Crafton, ever. Even with the new crew chief struggles, he will find a way in this landmark season with Menards. And as for my last two drivers in, I'm saying the McNally 19, they finally get over the hump with Christian Eckes, and Matt DiBenedetto will return to the playoffs for the first time since 2020, when obviously he beat out Jimmy Johnson in NASCAR's Cup Series. And that's not all for predictions, as I'm going to bridge a little bit into more than just playoff grid predictions for the Truck Series, because there's just so much storyline, a lot more than Xfinity, that's for sure. Rookie of the Year goes to Nick Sanchez, and he might be in a situation like Chandler Smith where he really comes on in the playoffs, wins the Phoenix finale as a rookie to really have some momentum entering the next season. I've also got another rookie, Brett Holmes, winning a race. He will do this. He will get redemption for Fall Talladega in 2022 by winning that same race in front of his hometown crowd 1 year later. Well, I take it this prediction isn't going to be received well, but Hailie Deegan, she bombs so hard at Thor Sport to where Taylor Gray, not Tanner, Taylor, outpoints her while driving in less races. Even with that, only one Truck Series driver makes the jump to Xfinity in 2024, which will be Hailie Deegan, as the narrative about her Truck Series tenure at Thor Sport will get twisted to where a third Stewart-Haas racing car will be somewhat justified. As bad as Kyle Busch Motorsports will do this season, this will be their weakest iteration. Kyle Busch is still going to win 2 races, and he will softly call out Chase Purdy and Jack Wood in his winning interview. Finally, let me say this. Do not, under any circumstance, unless say you have a family obligation or you're graduating high school, do not skip the North Wilkesboro truck race. Tickets for this race were sold in conjunction with the All-Star race, and races of this magnitude for the Truck Series are a rarity, and for a big Fox race with a sold-out crowd, marking as the first official NASCAR race back at North Wilkesboro, the truck drivers, they are really going to see that, and they are going to feed off of the energy. And on that Saturday afternoon, we are going to see a race and a finish that NASCAR fans are going to be talking about for the next couple decades. If you enjoyed the Truck Series Spotter's Guide, be sure to check out the Cup Series edition. The Xfinity video is currently in progress, and that video should be released before their season opener. Other than that, this is Nathan for NRF Productions. Life's a beach, and then you drive.